Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Rovers Report, where today you join me and Tom, and we're going to be having a little look back on Friday night's game between Bristol Rovers and Bolton. We're also going to just be sort of using this video to have a little look back over the first half of the season and, just sort of assess where we're at, how the players are doing and stuff. So I guess the first thing to say from me is what a frustrating game, Tom. We obviously went there knowing that Bolton are going to be one of the better teams in the division. But a fantastic start from us, Coburn with another goal, which we'll touch on later, but he's very quickly becoming a very important player for us. And, when you take the lead in the second minute, you would hope you could at least see that game out. I know we got the draw, but it felt like a defeat. But what was your overall assessment of it?
Yeah, I agree with all that sentiment, mate. It does feel a bit like a defeat, obviously, to a team in the playoffs take the lead so early, create a couple more chances in the first 20 minutes, and understandably sit back, and to concede like we did. It was obviously a great finish, but defensively we could have done a lot better. In the 93rd minute, wasn't it? Pretty much the last kick of the game is pretty gutting. I think it's. I think we'll touch on the first season as a whole, but it seems like conceding really late on has cost us quite a few points. I believe it's eight points this season. I know I need to check that. Which hypothetical world we would be in the playoffs. So it was slightly frustrating, but again, it comes to show that we can compete against some of the better teams in the league. And just finding that consistency in the second half of the season, like we did last season, actually, could lead to something maybe special in the run-in. But let's touch on the player ratings first.
Yeah, I think let's do this, man. Like I said before, we can sort of use it as a springboard for conversation surrounding other things. But yeah, let's just sort of go through the player ratings and say a bit on how everyone performed. So obviously we'll start with Belly, and for me, it was another one of his very good games. He had a reasonable amount to do. I think there was one chance in the first half where that striker's gone clean through and made a good save. Second half, another great save after Connolly's mistake. Just a question for you, mate. I think I'm being a bit harsh here, but I think for their goal, he could have done something more, and maybe not because of his height. Maybe that's something Rovers sort of have to accept if we're going to play a keeper as Belcher, who's so good with his reactions, but he isn't the tallest. I think potentially if Yokola's in goal there, he might reach that. But I'll happily accept one of those goals for all the times he saves us.
Completely. I think he gets caught, perhaps like staying to the near post a little bit. Maybe he thinks the player's going to beat. I think it's Evo who closes him down to the byline and then cross it in which case it makes sense to be at front post. I think his sight is hidden, and therefore he didn't get across quick enough because obviously it's gone pretty much top corner, but perhaps if his positioning was better for that, then he could have saved it. But yeah, it's a small blip for him. Like he's as you said, a couple of really good saves throughout the game as well, kept us in it. I think he's the best keeper in the league. That's my opinion. Maybe slightly biased with that, but Pat, bang for buck, considering Harrogate, it's pretty amazing. And yeah, I think maybe because with the goal, but again, kept us in the game with a couple of really good saves in the second half.
Yeah, that's the thing for me is you can look to nitpick and maybe someone else would have saved that goal, but he had two one-on-ones which he pulled out brilliant saves for. So yeah, that's fine for me. If we move on to the three centre backs that were playing that day, you've obviously got Gibson, Thomas, and Connolly. And to be honest, mate, I thought they were excellent. I thought they were putting themselves all around the pitch. For their age, showed huge maturity, dominating some of their attackers. Like I said, blocking shots. The only one probably concern I would have is that for me, Gibson, it's weird. He's very good on the ball, but he often tries a sort of thread of the needle ball, which in this game especially didn't come off. And in a game where you're not having the majority of the possession, when you do get the ball, you need to be careful with it. And there was times where I just felt he gave it away a little bit cheaply. and it allowed them to break on us. So, I think I can't criticise them for their defending today or on Friday. Even they were excellent in that, and it's impressive because Bolton are a good team. We did limit them, but yeah, just a few nitpicky bits for me is just be more careful on the ball.
So I'm trying to unmute myself there. Yeah, I agree completely. When we have the three of them fit and we play the three at the back or five at the back if you include the wing backs, and I think that is the way to go. I know Joey's a big proponent of that formation before. We've been playing it a lot recently, so I think it's actually a very solid back three, and I'm glad Beefy's back in action. I think we've really missed his solidity and the fact that he's so calm and composed on the ball. I feel like he's, as you mentioned, sometimes Gibson may try a ball that's not really appropriate, but I know with Connolly, 99% of the time it's going to be the correct ball, often short and simple. So I'm pleased now. It seems like, we have the sort of foundations and the spine of the team back, because at various first half of the season we've been missing attackers, and then we were missing defence for pretty much the whole defence at one point. So yeah, I'm happy, and I think Thomas has grown into the role really well, and obviously he's such a threat from set pieces. So yeah, another really pleasing performance from them, and I think slightly unlucky to concede the goal. It was as I said before, it was a piece of brilliance. Really, it was a great little finish, but perhaps maybe we could have defended it a bit better as a unit. So yeah, another solid performance against a very good team in the league. So I think we should just be happy with that, and I think it seems to be working well with the wing backs, whether we have Clark on the left or Gordon, and then it seems like Scott Sinclair's on the right. He obviously has such a good footballing brain and has so much Nelson experience that he's able to do that job as a wing back, despite being one of the I guess the wingers in a front three usually. So what do you think of the wing backs on Friday?
It's interesting for me, mate, because I think you're correct in what you say about Sinclair. He has the intelligence to play that position, and I wouldn't say he really got caught out at any stages. But if we're going to do that, I think we need a better left wing back, because for me, I was really unimpressed with Trevor Clark. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't for the want of trying. He's passionate. He's going blood into every challenge. He wants to do things, but I just think defensively he was weak. He was the clear weak point in that back five, and better teams will exploit that. I think we got lucky a few times that a couple of their balls in behind him, they turned him a few times. He's not up to the level that I think this team needs for me, and he has his good moments going forwards, but he doesn't offer enough going forwards to sort of make up for that.
Relative to yeah, of course. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I guess we could touch upon strengthening in January, or maybe that could be another episode. But it does seem like Gordon is very, very good on the ball, shows some good defensive signs, but is very inexperienced. At the same time, Trev offers a little bit going forward, but also has his defensive frailties. So, I think that's a valid point to say that we could maybe strengthen in that position. I know he could do a job there. I think he's actually quite underrated. I've really enjoyed watching him play, especially in the back four. But if Sinclair's doing a good enough job at right wing back, would it make sense to therefore play Gibbons at left wing back instead? I know obviously he would be on his weaker peg, and so therefore, he'd play, I guess, more inverted than a typical left-sided player. Maybe that's something to explore, because I know that he make that change. Joey made that change on Friday night. I remember Gibbons playing. I just got back from the SU, so I had a few drinks. So I can't remember everything, but it was. I definitely remember that. I think that could be something to explore, perhaps. Excuse me, but I think that's maybe the one weak point in the team when we are at full strength.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting challenge to explore, mate, because with Sinclair at right wing back, you can afford to have Gibbons sort of sitting a bit further back, and almost if we're on the attack, you can put that into a 4-3-3. Sinclair right wing, Collins left wing, Coburn through the middle, and have the same three in midfield. And we have good options now, which I'm happy for. And
Mhm.
I think one of the strengths of our team at the minute is our midfield. It's similar to my comments on Gibson. There was a few times, especially in the second half, they were a bit sloppy on the ball, but it's difficult to criticise when they're, especially Finley and Rossiter were so industrious, get all over the pitch, completely dominating that midfield. And something I was actually impressed with in this game is Evo. He looked like himself from last year, where he's, dictating the play, being creative on the ball. But I tell you what, mate, he was getting stuck in as well. Not on the levels of Finley and Rossiter. I don't think many players can match that, but it was nice to see him sliding into tackles, doing the dirty work. And that midfield three, mate, is a real point of strength for us, I think, now.
I think, yeah, completely. Rossiter's a bit like a Rottweiler midfield, isn't he?
Mm.
He never stops pressing. It's great to see, and I'm meeting a lot of humble pie regarding my opinion of him. At first 10 games, I wasn't impressed with him at all,
Mm.
and I think I mentioned before, maybe he did need that break. Maybe that suspension was a bit of a blessing in disguise for him. So, fair play to him. I think he's actually arguably been our best player over the last 10 games or so. Definitely the most consistent. And I completely agree with Evo. It's nice to see that he's back to his self from last year. This sort of creative flair that in midfield that we all know of. So I found that as well. Last season, he often played better when he was a bit more tenacious in the tackle as well. So yeah, it's great to see. And obviously Finley, I think sometimes he can be a little bit sloppy on the ball, but 95 to 100%, well, 95 to 99% of the time, he's going to do something good with the ball. Recently I think it was the assist against Fleetwood for Cohen's goal against Fleetwood. I think when he's whipped it in, I think for me,
And,
Finley's
and the assist against Peterborough as well.
yeah, of course, yeah, of course. For me, Finley's the first name on the team sheet. There's a reason why he's captain.
Mm.
So I think he has to be one of the most underrated, I think, Rovers players, certainly since, in the era since Darrell Clark took charge. That was about the last 8 years. I think he's probably been one of our better midfielders. So I'm glad he's always consistent as well. I love watching him play. So I think we got the hallmarks of something, well, we could push on effectively from where we are at the moment, considering I think base that we have across the board, but also midfield where I think we were very inconsistent at the start of the season. It's nice to see that even without Coots, they're able to find that flow that they had last season. Obviously, Coots was such a linchpin in midfield, but it seems like Roster's, doing a capable job there.
Mm. Yeah, it's crazy as well, isn't it, to think that we've still got McCormick who's on the bench, can't get a sniff. Coops to come back in, and then the final one I know is a little bit sort of will he ever actually come back? We still got Josh Grant potentially, so midfield options are looking great, man. I think it's a feature of our squad now. We do have options all over the pitch, and if we look up top now, Friday night wasn't necessarily Collins or Coburn's most active games. They weren't particularly involved the whole game, but I think Coburn is something quite special, really. When you look at him as a player and his physical assets, he can hold the ball up against League One defenders as well as I've seen since probably Johnson Clark Harris. He wins his battles, and then he's rapid and he's very skillful on the ball. So I think you mentioned a few stats before the podcast, and I'm sure you'll touch on them now. But his numbers could potentially be very impressive this season.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's 5 league goals in 9 league games since he joined, which equates to about a goal every 129 minutes. Um, and yeah, I think that's better than Collins, actually. Collins was around 127. I'm not 100% sure. I need to check those, but I think the sentiment is there. Like he is, had he started the season with us, then be in the playoffs quite comfortably, I think. So the question is whether Borough are going to recall him in January. They do have a clause to recall him. There's certainly a case for it. Obviously they brought in a new manager in Michael Carrick, someone I'm pretty sure knows who knows a good player when he sees one. So
Mm.
it's going to be an interesting one. There's a case for both well, there's a case for both sides really. More so probably, to be honest, because you'd want him to perhaps stay at Rovers and score 20 league goals, go back to Borough and file him to promotion next season. So
Mm.
it, I'm sure they'd rather take perhaps bringing him back. I know they've signed a few strikers over the summer and it hasn't really worked out. Some Marcus Force being one of. Um, so I think the Rovers argument definitely outweighs the Borough one in this case, especially if he were to take us to the playoffs.
Mm.
So I think if we keep hold of him, have someone who, when he's fit, could easily score 20 goals in this league. If we have Collins and Loft as well up top, we could have strikers that are scoring 20, 15, and 10. So, or maybe with Collins 2020 and Loft scoring 10. It's we're almost spoiled for choice really when Loft is back from ill. Uh, so it's excuse me, it's an interesting one, but I think that you can see why Coburn played 26 times for Borough, lost in the Championship. He has that quality, and
Mm.
to have that strength at 19 years old and these physical assets is incredibly impressive. Um, but also the finishing, the movement, the move for the goal. It looks so easy on the highlights reel, but it's actually a lot harder uh, to actually make that run and to curve your run. So, credit to him, and credit to Joey and the team for bringing him in because he's been, arguably the best signing so far. And let's just hope that we can keep hold of him in January.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think it's quite easy for us as Rovers fans to look at Barton's his first full season with us last year and think we didn't start off too well, and then the second half of the season went really well. And I think we're all hoping it will happen similarly this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if it does, mate. To be honest, but I think it would just be worth touching on this. I had this thought in my head having watched the Bolton game, having a little, trying to assess the game. And I think it's quite a good, it replicates how our season's gone so far, I think, and where we are at as a team. I was saying to you that we're not miles off of these top teams. We've gone to Sheffield Wednesday, we've gone to Bolton, and we have matched them. But I think what the crucial thing within that is, we say we've matched them. Against Bolton, we matched them for 25 minutes. Against Sheffield Wednesday, we matched them for, 10-minute periods 3 times throughout the game. We're not at that level yet. And Barton actually touched on it in his post-match conference. He said, we're probably 12 months behind these clubs in terms of footballing ability and, that sort of thing. But it's encouraging stuff. We're not a million miles away from really putting a challenge in this division. And yeah, I thought the game was a real indicator of where we're at as a club and where we should be aiming for in the league.
Yeah, definitely. And we've been there this season. We've beaten Posh, who are typically a good side in the league. We've matched teams. The only real sort of games where I think we deserved to lose were Ipswich and Lincoln at the start of the season,
Mm.
and arguably Forest Green on the first game of the season. So I think we found that pattern now. It's very much a case of similar to last season where we played some really good football and you could tell it was there. I think we were around 14th at Christmas, so
Mm.
it's an interesting one, and I think the obviously the ability to go from 14th to 5th in League One, you need a lot more than in League Two
Mm.
to do that. So it's going to be an interesting one, mate. I think with a couple of signings in January, if we keep hold of Coburn, if we keep our squad or at least the spine of it fit, then I think we can really do some damage in the second half of the season. But obviously, it depends on how other teams get on. I always prefer, us just concentrating on ourselves. I think, if we were to finish mid-table playing the same way we are, I'd still have faith. And I agree with Joey that, it would probably be next season that we'd have to push on.
Mm. Mate, this is exactly what I think, and something that I have got behind Barton on is he talks about this journey we're on, and something that I think is impressive from him, and then as a result, probably his management style, but the players, is we tend to learn from lessons. And that's what I hope happens this year. You know, we spoke about, we conceded late at home to Fleetwood, conceded late last night. You know, that Derby away game, for a different reason, will hopefully give our team lessons to learn. And as long as we learn them, as long as the manager, like Barton, equally as much as the players, and you get these experience in the bank, and you think, you know, say our next game we play when we're away at Charlton, and that was Port Vale first, but we're away at Charlton, 1-0 up in the, you know, the dying minutes. The players can go, they can go back to that bank and go, okay, we've been in this position before. What should we do differently? And that's what it's all about. You know, no one expects us to be challenging overnight, but each game, as he said, was it Kaizen he likes to go on about? Each week we improve and we take different learnings from the games, and I think you can see that with the squad.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why we're performing so much more consistently, I think, as well. You're just ironing out the mistakes in your game that you're committing. Obviously, I think we're mistake ridden at the start of the season, and it is nice to see. Like, it does give you favour as a Rovers fan. I think it's great that we have the spine of the team to actually. I don't think a team would be able to do that if you didn't have such a good spine in the team. So I'm talking about players like Finley, Rossiter now, Collins, Bailey in goal, Beefy now he's back. So I think it's really nice to see, and I'm obviously slightly disappointed because I think we should be higher up in the league, and especially given our form recently where we've thrown away a few points. But as you said, I think we are on a journey effectively. Trivialize it, but it's going to be interesting. You know, if we can keep up these good performances into the new year, then I think, you know, we could look off push. But, you know, as we've said before, it is an odd League One, and so, you know, you have to be, anyone can beat any other team on their day. So it's like almost becomes like a stochastic process at times where you can't really predict what's going to happen next. So I think all eyes on the Vale game, excuse me, where they're obviously doing incredibly well. DC is doing a great job there, having gained promotion with them last season. Ellis was definitely on form. I'm not sure about recently, but Ellis started the season on fire. So it's going to be a crack of a fixture. I'm looking forward to watching it. I should be able to get it up on iFollow with a VPN.
Yeah.
Hopefully the EFL guards aren't watching this.
You'll be all right, Matt, I reckon. I think it's going to be another good game, and it's something I really enjoy about League One is every week it feels like an important game, doesn't it? There's, you know, Port Vale not necessarily one of the bigger teams in the division, but it's a massive game for us, and hopefully we'll be doing a preview of this game, mate. So, you know, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you later. Cheers.